Good morning, everyone. This is Kathy Mason with Mason Works Marketing on Conscious Business
Good
Zone.
morning, everyone.
Whoops.
This is
And I'm hoping that you can hear me okay because we're on Zoom today. And I am so excited to introduce you to Sandie Sedgbeer. How are you doing, Sandie?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Kathy.
Oh, I'm so excited. And of course, technology always does something goofy when we're doing these things, but we're okay with that. We always have plan A, B, and C.
Absolutely.
So, Sandie, I have so many questions. First of all, you guys, this is such a privilege to have a, a, a muse like Sandie on this show because she is just a wealth of information, and she probably can give us insights into what is going to work now to get your message out in the world. The media has changed, everything, books are changing, everything is changing, and Sandie has a wealth of knowledge on publishing magazines, books, radio shows, interview shows. I don't know, do you have TV too?
I have done, yes,
Yes.
quite a bit of TV as well. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Sandie, I got to watch one of your interviews last night with the gentleman from Hay House who said that you were his muse, and it was a lovely, lovely interview. And you just held your, it was so interesting. You didn't really smile. You just sort of took it in. You absorbed it. And so you really have a resume that covers so much. Tell us a little bit about your journey into wanting to make a difference with media.
Wow. Well, that I didn't know that I wanted to make a difference with media until I found myself making a difference with media. And all I was doing was having ideas and saying, why can't I do this? Let's do it. And then I began to understand that the idea had come from some place, the prompting was there, and it was just exactly what people needed. I think it really begins with the fact that I'm fascinated with people. I love people and I love communication. I'm a Gemini, and so communication's my thing. And I love, communicating with people and finding out why people are the way they are, what makes them do the things they do. And I guess I just followed an inkling. I mean, I always wanted to be a writer. I said to my mother at the age of 4, I'm going to be a successful writer. I don't know how a 4-year-old, articulates that or even knows it, but all through school, that was my goal. I was going to write books, and I set my compass. So I started as a journalist, working on a number of British magazines. And one of the things is I'm very curious. I want to know how everything works. And it's not just enough for me to write for a magazine. I want to know who those readers are. So one of the things that I started doing before people were doing this was organize an event so I could meet readers. Because if I could meet the readers, I could find out what they really want, and then we could give it to them. And so I did that on a number of different magazines. I organized all kinds of events for our readers to come along to, a week stay at, we call them health farms. I think you call them spas here, to holidays abroad. And I would fly and meet them on their holidays and things like that. And what I began to realize is, under the skin, we're all the same. We all want to be treated like we want to treat other people, with respect, with affection, with interest, to be listened to. And I realized that the way that marketing was being done, it was too slick. Yeah. It was too soulless. And what all people need is for you to be honest with them. Exactly. And communicate with them. And if you can do that, it's not a matter of selling. What you do is basically you're selling yourself.
Right, right.
You know, and you're showing them that they can trust you and that you're somebody just like them and that you've got their interests at heart. And when that began to emerge, then I understood that a lot of the ideas that people had told me were a bit too radical in my career were actually just ways of communicating with people from the heart and getting to understand what they want and finding ways to give it to them. So, that's how I began to realize that, the old way of advertising and marketing is just, well, we're seeing this, it's not working anymore.
Right.
With social media, it's so transparent. You can't, and people aren't stupid.
Right.
We all, even if we're not, conscious in a spiritual sense, we've all got our gut. We all know lies when we hear them. We all know inauthenticity when we come across it. And likewise, we also know when someone's being honest with us. So when I started working with people, spiritual teachers and authors who wanted to build their platforms and profiles, I said, all you've got to do is find ways to communicate, whether it's through YouTube, whether it's through doing free events, whatever it is, be yourself. And that is the quickest way, to get people to understand who you are, and they'll know whether they want what you've got. And if they do, they become your salespeople because they become your advocates. So it's a very simple equation.
I think authenticity and trust are the two most important things. And maybe they always were, because everything you do in life is a relationship. And once people realize that you want to have good relationships, I mean, all business is relationship if it's good business, and all communication should be authentic. I think that what happened this past year and a half, what we're seeing is that I think the truth is being revealed little by little. I hope it hurries up a little bit, but the people that see the truth of how there is programming of the storyline, and that there has been for thousands, hundreds, thousands of years, and that we're joining. We're now going into a new age of the age of Aquarius, which isn't just a song, it's real, that we have the opportunity to live in peace, but it has to start with, I think, a lot of these people you've interviewed, these incredible people, they're the first wave of truth tellers. A lot of them were. Regina Meredith, and who you interviewed on our CCC channel that I don't know, it was like 2 years ago, probably. But Bruce Lipton, all of these great people, they somehow got over their fear of being burned at the stake or crucified or whatever happened in everyone else's past lives. And they just stood out there and said, okay, I got a piece of the puzzle and I want to share it. So did you have to coach any of those people to share the truth? No. Interesting, isn't it?
No. I mean, Regina's wonderful. She's a good friend of mine, and we often swap guests. She'll say, I've got a good guest for you, and I'll say, I've got a good guest for you. And she's done so much great work.
Yes.
With her conscious media that she started many years ago. She was the first to do that. Her work at Gaia, now her work that she's doing through her own website, and the fact that she's also stepping on the other side of the microphone and the camera. Instead of interviewing other people, she's sharing what she knows and what she's learned. And no, I think the thing is, these people have come forward and they've got a piece of the puzzle and they're very anxious to share it. I mean, when you look at Bruce Lipton's story, he didn't believe in anything. He was a cellular biologist and that was it. And then he has his epiphany. And I think when you have those awakenings and it suddenly becomes, you become so aware that we're all connected, of course you want to share that naturally with everybody. You know, it's like talking to yourself, you know, hey guys, you know, look what I've just found. I'm so excited about it. And I love meeting people who are still excited about what they want to share. It's when they are not excited that, you know, we need to worry.
Oh, I know, I understand. I've been doing this a long time too. And so when people talk about people have an ego or they don't have an ego, and I say I need them to have a little bit of that and charisma in order for me to help them.
Yeah.
Because if they're too timid, I'm spending all of my life force energy trying trying to reassure them instead of them going from a level and then jumping off from there.
Yeah.
So I think part of what I love about what you do is that you have these clever ideas and you act on them. And I believe that the universe gives us all these clever ideas, but no, hardly anyone acts on them. It's like you're an antenna and the
Yes.
field has all this stuff in it, and it's like, oh, I'll give it to this one. She might do it. And in your case, that's the truth. So tell us a little bit about that because like we'll talk a little bit about your book club book interview series, but what do you think gave you that idea about just keep refining what you're doing? I mean, a lot of people stay in their niche. Like if you look at a lot of these, like Hay House Publishing, they just stayed in their niche until they now are part of Random House. You look at, and I'm a publisher too, but I'm a hybrid publisher. I'm more like a shepherd than a traditional publisher. I want to give it back to the client and let them own it. I don't want all of that. And now there's no reason to do that really, unless you have a great marketing engine. So
Well,
yeah,
I was going to say, for me, it was nothing was ever planned other than I'm going to be a writer, I'm going to be a journalist, I'm going to write books, I'm going to be famous. That kind of rebounded on me because I had an experience where I realized that I was chasing fame for the wrong reason. And that didn't sit well with me. So I kind of stepped back from it. I mean, I was published in England by several of the large publishing houses in the 80s and 90s and did a lot of television and a lot of interviews. And it didn't fill the hole in me that I thought being famous would. So then I realized you've got to go and do some work on yourself, you know. But everything I've done is really about the excitement of, oh, that sounds great. And why not? You know, when people say to me, you can't do that, it's, oh, really? You know, that's like a red flag to a ball. I have to then say, yeah, I'm going to do that. But what you said about, you know, the ideas, the way I see it is all these ideas are floating around in the universe like a conveyor belt, waiting for someone to go, I'll take that one. And I think when we don't, you know, someone else comes along who will, and they land with someone. There have been as many that I haven't picked as the ones that have, you know, that I have picked. And if it's exciting, you know, again, I'm a Gemini, I've got to jump on it. I don't have patience. If it's exciting, let's get it going. And I have done some fabulous things that have been very helpful to people, but have cost me a lot of money because they were ahead of their time. And so sometimes, you know, I've kind of had my fingers burnt, but I don't regret doing them because every single thing that you do, you know, it's all grist to the mill. Even in my career, you know, be a journalist and an author. Don't go off and do something else on the other side of magazines. Don't get into advertising. Don't get into marketing. No, I want to know how it all works. So I would go wherever I was led, and I was led into some very interesting places as a result. And I think looking back on it, that actually that was absolutely the right thing to do, because I now have a tool bag and I have so many tools that I can, you know, pick and choose. And I've had opportunities because of those tools. But you know, you talked about the book club. I don't know if you want to go into that
Yes,
now, but that is a real case in point.
I love it.
That dropped in front of me. I swear,
The name
the universe unfurled a banner, and there it was, fully formed in front of me.
wow.
And although the name wasn't there for a couple of months, the whole idea was just laid out in front of me. And I looked at it and said, wow, that's a great idea. Someone should do that. It's not going to be me. You know, I'm looking elsewhere, and I don't want to get my fingers burnt again. I know the amount of work involved, and it wouldn't go away. And, you know, it's called the No BS Spiritual Book Club. And it was birthed because I get pitches. You know, I'm a book judge. I do lots in publishing. I have radio shows. I've read more books than most people. And I get pitched so many books. And I suddenly realized that I was getting pitched a lot of books that I regarded as Me Too's, you know, the regurgitated. And I'm not criticizing the authors because they were excited about what they were sharing. But it was beginning, for me, it was beginning to overshadow the source material.
Wow.
And I was thinking, there's so many good books out there that have got the essence. And this book, it's nice, but it doesn't have the essence. And there's so many people waking up. So tie that in with lots of people asking me, you know, I'm just woken up to this. Where should I start? What should I read? And this idea dropped in. And I said no. And I said no for a year. I kept pushing it away, but it wouldn't leave me alone. And I told a few people about it, and I kind of didn't know what I would call it, but a friend said, I said a phrase one day, and my friend said to me, call it that, call it what it is. So it's called the No BS Spiritual Book Club. And what it is, it's not me telling people what they should read. I decided that I would go to lots of the people that I've interviewed, the people that I know have walked the walk and talked the talk, authentic people, speakers, teachers, authors, famous, not famous. And I would ask them to give me the 10 best books that had influenced them the most on their journey. And I felt there's nothing more, you know, compelling than someone saying, this is what helped me when I was at that stage. So this is an archive that is being built every month, you know, with more people adding their 10 bests. And then somebody said to me, well, why don't you do an interview with them about their books and go deeper? Ask them about the stories behind those books. What were they doing at the time, you know, and how did they advance their career, and what are they doing now? And so I started doing these interviews, and I realized, Kathy, you know, I've been interviewing people for 40 years or more, in one form or another. But these were the best interviews of all, because nobody's selling anything. Nobody's pitching their latest book. What they're doing is they're sharing these are the books that helped me. And so they're coming from that place of excitement too. And the authenticity comes out. And yes, we mention their latest books, but we're talking about how they managed it on their journey. And so we're seeing them as a person, not as an author or a teacher or a speaker. We're seeing somebody, you know, who woke up one day and was guided along a path by these books. And I think that makes them more interesting. And that levels the playing field with the person who's viewing the interview and the person, you know, who's being interviewed. So
well, I remember my daughter, who is I'm into the spiritual woo-woo stuff. I had spiritually transformative experience 16 years ago, 17 years ago. And she asked me, Mom, what would I read to understand you? And I never figured out what to tell her. I mean, because it was, I read all the Neil Donald Walsh books. I've read so much. I got a bookshelf right back there. That's just some of
Yeah.
them. They're
Yeah.
everywhere here. I'm a bookaholic. And so I never answered her. I could never even figure out what to tell her to read that wouldn't totally conflict with her belief system so much that she would reject it. So I'm
Yeah.
fascinated to hear what other people have. Have you started reading a bunch more books after doing this?
I've got a longer list. You know, I read probably 2 or 3 books a week because I'm interviewing every single
Yeah,
week.
yeah,
And then I'm also doing another podcast and I have to interview, you know, for that.
yeah.
And my reading for me is done in the car on Audible.
Oh,
That's the only chance I get to read you know, the books that I want to read. That doesn't mean I don't enjoy the books that I am reading for interviews. But yeah, I've got a stack, but starting this club, you know, I thought I was very well read, and now I'm thinking, oh, God, you know, the list is getting longer of the books that I do need to read. But the
oh,
nice thing too is what we're seeing is certain books coming to the top, they appear
oh,
again and again. And those ones, you know, are the kind to give people like your daughter
yes,
to
yes.
say, you know, have a look at this one. Because so many people said, you know, it did it for them.
So spiritual is one of those words like conscious. And people go, "What's a conscious business?" And I don't like that name. And it's like, but that's what it is. Um, spiritual is another one of those words. And how do you define spiritual as far as when people do their entries? Do you have a you leave it up to them to say
I
what
let
that
them say, but I do, you know, I mean, my definition of spiritual is somebody who is aware that they are more than a physical body. And therefore, there's a whole lot of other stuff that comes along with that, because the minute you accept that, then you open yourself up to the idea, well, then what are we? You know, we are spirit, we are soul, we are physical, but we are a spiritual energy having a physical experience right now. And
Mhm.
then you understand everybody else is the same. So you can't think about people in the way you used to think about people,
Right,
you know,
right.
as separate and as your enemy. So it's a very broad definition of spiritual. Do I believe in God? No. Do I believe in source? Yes.
Yes.
I do believe in an energy, a consciousness that we are all part of. And I do believe that we can pull on that energy. We can, you know, tap into that energy and utilize that energy. We're all sparks of that energy.
Yes. So are you empathic and sensitive?
I never used to think so. I used to get upset because, you know, I've been interested in spiritual arena, you know, since I was 15. I've been reading books, but it was very much a kind of I'm going to read that because that sounds interesting. No, that doesn't fit. Oh, this bit fits, but I didn't know what it fit. It wasn't until 1987 that something happened that somehow was a blossoming within me, that I understood that I wasn't searching for information to convince me. I was trying to remember something that I already knew. And from that moment, you know, it all came from within. And I can't remember what your original question was. But
This is perfect. It's beautiful. This is beautiful. So what I find is I seem to read and watch YouTubes and listen to interviews because I don't have the words. I find that my knowing is good. I'm comfortable with it, but I can't articulate the unseen or the rest of what I know. And so that's where I find that it's like, aha, they said this and I get it. Because when people would say, well, you just got a download, and this isn't, California, I got a download. This is something comes in that's profound and it takes a week to unpack. And it's like, how do you explain that? And then you see this whole perspective. It's like the matrix moves around and changes. And then how do you explain that? I mean, That's
You know,
a lot of what I've been doing, trying to listen to these people because they do have words. They have
yeah,
concepts that you can
yeah.
use that articulate it.
Yeah, and there's as many ways to explain it as there are people. What I say to people, look, this is not something extraordinary. We all have it. I didn't think I had it. I just thought I knew stuff, and I knew that I knew stuff, and I could read people and know if someone's lying to me, or know if something was going to happen that my mother would say was going to happen. But I thought it was, I understand body language. That's what I thought it was. And I used to say to my friends who were psychic, it's not fair. I don't hear things, I don't see angels, I don't have those, multidimensional experiences, but I know stuff. And then I realized that's clairsentience. My gut is the most accurate thing I've learned. It's taken me a long time to understand that. So I trust my gut, and I would say to everybody, connect with your gut because it knows.
Right.
And that's all you need. You don't need to listen to anyone. Does this feel right to me or does it not? That's it. That's all you need.
Right. But it's also the other thing I'd like to bring up is what you offer is bringing there's lots of garbage in the field. There's a lot of chaos in the
Yes.
field. And what I'm hoping people will do after meeting you here is search out your work, search out your sites, and we'll make sure that we tell them where to go, because this is a time to feed your soul. It's not just the language I was talking about, but the frequency, because
Yeah.
this is really, we're in a high chaos, high polarity environment, and it's going to be a couple years that people are going to be confused about what is possible for them. And the more that you can feed yourself the higher perspective, the kindness, the true love, where it's not a manipulation, that's where, I mean, everyone is a guru. Everyone is.
Yes.
And if you're a listener and you'll be patient to find that essence, there's a whole gift in every single interaction.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you fill yourself with movies that are all violence, and you watch only the news, and if you only are listening to the next fear virus announcement, you can really shorten your life. You can shorten your experience here, and
Well,
you stood in line to get these bodies to be here
yeah,
right now.
exactly. And what you're doing actually is you're giving up your sovereignty because you're taking on someone else's view, because it might seem, or a lot of people believe in it. But, I keep saying to people, we've had so much chaos this last 20 months, and I've watched people in the spiritual arena go down different roads and be swayed and lose their center. That's the thing I keep saying, is keep coming back to your center. Keep coming back. Does this feel right to me? Forget what everyone is saying. Forget what you're seeing on the news, because that's all mind virus stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What is my compass telling me? And if you can stay with that, you can't go wrong.
Right.
That's your stability.
Right, right. But that depends on how much you can trust that you really are more than this physical body, that so much more of your soul is available to you. The more high frequency you can refine this meat suit, the more of
Yeah.
your soul that can embody it. And that's the game, you guys. That's where.
Yeah.
And so for the audience, a lot of these people that are listening to this now and in the replay, they are conscious business owners that are servant leaders, and they're in service to their customers and their employees. So they're looking for support on kindness and higher purpose, and how do they help others succeed, because it's more of a team concept than it is a hierarchy, which
Yeah.
most business.
Yeah.
And I truly believe that conscious business is the way we turn the ship around
Yes.
faster,
Yes.
because they affect so many people. Um, and that's another, it's almost a sociology model
Yeah.
that we can
Yeah.
follow. So,
Yeah.
so how do you see what you're doing as a piece of this turning the ship? Because that's the way I see what you're doing.
People call me the cosmic switchboard
Oh,
and the connector. And what I see, what I believe I do, this has been my passion, is I'm very good. I've got a great bullshit meter, and I'm very good at sifting through information, and I'm very good at sorting the wheat from the chaff. And this is when I find something that I resonate with, and that word is really important. You talked about frequency. You know, if I do any marketing as such, I don't call myself a marketer, but what I do is resonance marketing. It's communication with resonance, and it's finding resonant information, authentic information, and sharing it. And one of the ways that I've always been attracted, because I know that to show people the truth, you've got to have the evidence there. You know, I'm always looking at the science, and I love the fact that now we're in an era where quantum physics, quantum mechanics is showing us the truth of what we know, you know, that others are still have to come to terms with. They're backing it up, and that's where I want to play and share information. It's not just listen to this woo-woo stuff. It's listen to what this scientist had to say. Listen to what that researcher had to say. You know, look at the evidence, and you will begin to see that, you know, the metaphysical isn't separate. The metaphysical actually meets the mainstream, and it's becoming more mainstream, the metaphysical. So that's where I like to play and share information. So if I call myself a shameless sharer. If I come across something good, I want that person on my radio show, or I want to talk about that person in some way or another and share it with others, because that's the information we all need. That's the spark that we need. You know, that's what wakes people up.
well, and again, these people that you're featuring, they're showing the path for others. I mean, when they, not just the books that they've read, but their storyline of how they decided to release the fear that they have and show up and maybe release some of their pain body too, to really show up and be in service to others. Because once you realize that it's an inside job that creates the outside, then the game changes altogether.
Yeah, I believe that we all come equipped with everything we need. We just have to remember that. And one of the ways to remember is to do what you love and to do what inspires you. And in doing what inspired me and the things that I love to do, I've been able to then kind of turn that into something that allows other people to find inspiration through the people I talk to. But I'm just having a ball.
Yes.
Nobody could be listening. I'm still having a ball because
Me
I'm
too.
learning.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, that's what I think, that that's why I do this as well. I mean,
Yes.
it's not exactly I started out doing it, interviewing everyone I had already worked with over 19, 20 years. And then I've expanded, but I get excited. I watch stuff before, I read a book. I get all excited to meet these people, because I know that there's some gift for all of us,
Yes.
and there's
Yeah.
these pearls of wisdom,
Yeah.
or these paths of, or as you said, remembering. But this is what I wanted to ask, because I really think you don't realize how courageous you are, because
Or foolish.
no, well, thank goodness, thank goodness, thank goodness. Because when you think about it, that's what's really still keeping people not sharing their gifts. It's now I know I had trouble with trust. In fact, I used to buy these oils from this incredible lady who lives in Denver, and I bought trust, and she would call me up when she had a special on it. I bought it so much. And I was wearing it every day. And then I finally went, oh, I could just do it instead of it was this external thing I did. But I think trust and this courageousness to be real. Don't you see that that's, at least I'm asking, but I think you'll say yes. Don't you see that that's the journey we're on right now? That a lot of
Yeah. I think, the thing is, I mean, when I left England to go to America for 2 years and ended up staying 20, I knew nobody. Well, I had a couple of old bosses who lived there, but I mean, I was doing that on my own. And I learned something really important, because when it'd always been a dream of mine to be in America. And when it became a possibility, it was one of those, my safety's here. There's no safety there. But what I realized, I came to a point which was really pivotal that I think we all need to pay attention to, which was when the fear of not doing something becomes greater than the fear of doing it. Because I thought, well, what if I don't take this opportunity? Okay, my kids have left home. I'm going to sit around and wait for the grandchildren, and then what? Or I can go and see whether I could actually make that happen. And I think, the bottom line is, it can't kill me. What's the worst that can happen? I can come home again, So I didn't really see that as courageous. I just saw it as, you know what, if you don't do it, you're going to be mad at yourself.
Oh, interesting. See,
Yeah.
and that's a fascinating thing. And then the joy of I did it, I did it, I did it, is the other part, because I think the journey, once we're courageous enough to tap into what we really love to do and then live in that, because I don't know that I'll ever retire. I just love what I get to do. I love the people, and I intend that too. I ask to only send me the people that I
Yes.
love and who love
Yeah.
me. And if that doesn't happen, that it's a short dance. But but anyway, I think that's what we're hoping for, is that people will show up with their gift,
Yeah.
which is what the joy shows. It shines the light on.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, when you think about it, you've got this, everyone has their unique gift, and it would be such a shame to leave that planet not having shared it.
right.
That's your gift to the world. Why would you take it back with you?
Well, so you're in England, and are you still on lockdown right now?
Well, as yesterday we were supposed to have our freedom. Today we're being told, oh, you can have a bit of freedom, but we might claw some of it back. So we really don't know.
So how are you being prolifically busy and productive during this time?
Oh my goodness. I don't think I've ever been busier. I've had so many people taking this up. I help a lot of people with their books. I edit, I ghostwrite, I, coach, or I evaluate. I've never come across so many people who said, now at last I've got the time to write that book.
Right,
So,
right.
that side of it is busy. The new podcast, I wasn't expecting that, but that's taken up time. The book club, the radio show, and all kinds of other projects.
Okay, so you're just glossing over all that you're doing, which is a lot. Okay, you have an OM Times radio show, right?
I do. I host the flagship radio show.
Yeah. So you guys, that's number one. Not, I mean,
Yeah.
it's not number one. She's done a gazillion things. Okay. And then she has the No BS Spiritual Book Club.
Yeah.
And you have a podcast called Cracked,
Yeah.
crackedthepodcast.com.
Yeah.
So why don't you, if you don't mind, we've got a little bit of time, if you could talk about what you look for, because some of these people may be interested in and listening in, and then maybe want to participate with you. So
Yeah, and I'm always open for people if they've got a book that they, want to promote. I do get booked out months ahead, months and months ahead. So I say to people, if you know the publication date and it's 6 months away, tell me now, so we can get you in a schedule. So there's the radio show, which is totally free. It's on Own Times Radio. People can go there and look in the archives, and I speak to. So it's where science and spirituality meet. That's basically it. So anyone who's got anything to say that can enlighten us, inform us, that's what I talk about. Crack the Podcast is about mental health, but mental health, I'm looking at mental health with my co-host, Rebecca Shaper, from a point of view is we've all got mental health. We all have times when it goes up and down. There shouldn't be any stigma attached to it. And there are many, many reasons that cause our mental health, to waver at times. So we're looking at psychedelics, we're looking at the microbiome, we're looking at, spirituality as, part of mental health. Because often what people think is a breakdown isn't, it's a breakthrough. So we're examining everything to do with mental health there from different avenues. The book club is completely free. This is my service project. People can go there, they can sign up, they get a monthly email telling them, whose new book lists are published and who I'm going to be interviewing this month. And they get a weekly one saying, if you want to see this person this month. They don't get hammered by anything else. I don't sell lists. There's no advertising. There's nothing that is asking them for anything other than enjoy it, So they're the three things I do. I also coach. I do coaching on if people have a dream, an idea, I help them ground their ideas, their genius, and bring things into fruition, basically.
So that's where the muse comes in, which the opportunity is to have a seasoned pro who is working from the spiritual, authentic, honest, high integrity side, help you craft your message in the world and sharpen your stick as far as the opportunity is to start a conversation that leads to bigger things. So okay, one other question on books real quick. So there's a lot of formulas for book writing, and one of them is the hero's journey. And do you feel, because there's now Amazon Vela, there's all these, short book opportunities or low content book like journals and everything, which are selling really surprisingly well. I mean, I'm surprised. Are you seeing that, the hero's journey storyline changing, or do you see it being upgraded or shortened?
I think
what you're seeing.
Having been in publishing, since I left school, and been part of the old traditional publishing and seen that from several sides, and the new, which is very exciting, I feel that the playing field is so level. It doesn't matter. People come to me with all kinds of books. I mean, people's stories are our history. We're never going to not want people's stories. So, whether your story is a long story, everybody's having their hero's journey. And whether you tell that in a short book or a long book, it doesn't really matter as long as it's interesting. You know, that's the thing. And I think where we're at now, I would say to anyone, you know, if you are moved to do something that is completely out of the box, do it. Do it. Because there are no boxes anymore. You know, it doesn't have to be formula anymore. You know, we've seen so many people break the mold and be successful that I'm all for, you know, originality and authenticity. And if this is what wants to come out of you, let it out. And we let it out in the best possible way. You know, we craft it, you know this because you help people with their books. You know, you get it crafted in the way that it's going to, you know, tell your story. It's like a piece of sculpture, you know, so that people see the beauty of it.
The most of the first books that people write are a healing journey. Most of them, you really, if you're kind and loving and help them through that, usually there's gems even afterwards. There's lots of other books that come through, but that first book is where you really look back on your story. And
and you know that when you're helping someone with a book, as I know, we're also therapy for them.
Right.
You know, because we're helping them, you know, have some kind of catharsis to get through that healing journey. Yeah. And that's a lovely part of it.
Right. I consider that being a mirror, so shining their divinity back to them where they could possibly see it. So you have to, you're holding space. But that's I'm also busy with publishing and marketing plans, and I'm taking classes almost not daily, but at least a couple times a week, trying to figure out what's the best way to help people now, because traditional TV and all of that isn't probably coming back. Okay, one other question about magazines. Lots of people are doing digital magazines now instead of print. What's your feeling about that?
Well, you know, I'm a print person. I always was a print person. I said I would never have one of those Kindle things until I got one. And then I realized I can carry 1,000 books around with me, and suddenly I was converted. I've produced magazines, print, and I've taken them online. And I think magazines in any format, you know, I love doing online magazines and I love doing print magazines. So however people can access it, you know, it's ultimately it's about sharing information, you know, and there's no reason why you can't have a print magazine that someone can carry around with them and have the same magazine online as well, you know, because people like to read in different ways and digest information in different ways. So yeah, I love magazines. It's my first love.
Digital is so I just wondered if you old school would say, because I still want to hold a book. I love the tactile experience. I love the trophy that I read this. And in fact, I have trouble getting rid of them even after I've read them, because I read this. I'm a good girl, or whatever it is. But it's like a trophy. So I just wondered if you felt kind of you know, that the digital art form is temporary. That's the part I don't like about websites and maybe digital magazines, is in a minute it could go away and be blown up, or they just decide 5 years from now you build all this content and it's gone. So that's the part that I don't like about what I do for a living. But
well, I'm a hoarder. So, you know, when I've had online magazines and I've had articles sent to me, I've got them all stored away anyway. You know, so if they go away online, I can still access them. But yeah, no, I understand that, you know, the future generation, it is all going to be short, sharp, sweet. Give it to me now. I want it in my hand. And there's others, you know, the older ones who say, there's something about that piece of paper, you know, that I don't want to give up.
Right. Well, and again, what you said about Kindle, you know, that is true, is the convenience of having things portable, so that you're not carrying these huge sacks of things. That's very, very true. and it's a time where we're really getting this kaleidoscope of things to learn. And it's almost like a kid in a candy store, with between the digital and the real print, and what Amazon's doing, where, I mean, you really, people during this lockdown haven't had to even go to the store if they didn't want to.
That's
I mean,
true.
it's so different. It's like, I don't want to pick my oranges off of a computer screen. I want to go look at them.
Yeah, yeah. And it's the same with books too, isn't it? I mean, you can, you can look on Amazon, you can look inside, you can read a bit of the book, that's great. You can get it on Audible and you can listen to it. But nothing pleased me as much as my daughter telling me that my 12-year-old granddaughter, her favorite activity, and this is new, is going into bookstores
Oh,
and opening books. And it was like, and there's the future. We've got hope. They still like
yeah.
the print.
Yeah, one of my favorite Twilight zones was the one where this bank teller guy kept reading it while he was at work, and then something happens, and he's in a library, and it's like, I'm in heaven, no one's bothering me, I can read all these books. So I relate to that. I think I'm a bookaholic.
I'm a bookaholic too. I couldn't live without them.
Designation, I should be treated for that.
No, you shouldn't. No, you shouldn't. You know what the treatment is? More books.
Well, and because we do these interviews, people send them to us, and at a certain point, it's like, no, you can send me a PDF. It's fine,
Yeah.
because at a certain point, I really have a lot.
Yeah.
So, well, Sandie, let's give everyone, because we're coming up to the end, and thank you so much. This has been a delight to get to know you. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
Yes. Let's give some ways to connect with you, so we make sure that people reach out and get to have the experience to learn more about you and what you've done and what your gifts are, because once they do, I think that it's life-changing what you're doing. It's
Thank
really
you.
big. Yeah.
I'm just having fun.
I know. Thank you. Thank you for having fun for all of us.
Yeah, come have fun with me.
Yeah.
So my website, very, very simple. The name is Sandie Sedgbeer, and that is the name of my website, but you can also get there by just typing in sedgbeer.com. It tells you everything about what I do. Doesn't tell you too much about what is going on. You have to go to On Times Radio there. But you can join the book club there. You can find out everything. You can access the interviews and the 10 best lists. And the other website is crackedthepodcast.com.
So perfect.
And if you want to give people an email address, I'm very happy for people to write to me, Sandie with an IE at sedgbeer.com. They'll find me there.
Perfect. And just so everybody knows, Sandie isn't on Facebook, and but do you?
I am.
Oh, you are?
I am.
You are. Yes, actually you are. Sorry. Yes, you are. Sorry, because we're friends. Sorry. but you, the best way to reach you would be going to those sites or doing email, right?
Yeah.
Okay, super. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cassie.
I hope I get to give you some names, because I'm always promoting everybody. I feel like I created this little launch pad, and it's
Send them over.
I'd love to. I know it might take months, but they're worth the wait. They're worth the wait. So thank you so much for everything, and thank you for the wit and the expression of possibility that you're showing everyone that they can have, because this is the time. This is the time we all
It's all there waiting. Yeah.
Yes. And it's inexpensive relatively compared to what it was before to do all of this. You can get, if you are ready to be authentic and share, you can build your
Yeah.
platform very quickly now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Can I leave you with one word? And that is, my motto is throw away the T. And that is the T in can't. You know, because you can do anything. You just have to say yes. That's it.
Right. And you're the perfect example of that. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Kathy.
Yeah. Bye-bye.